Am I doing it or are you?
Hi, everybody. This is Ilana and Susan with our next episode of the Faster EFT Fireside Chats. And today we are going to discuss living fearlessly. Last week, Susan sent me a post showing me a video from Anita Morjani about her experiences. And one of the messages that she gives out to people is about that you should live life fearlessly. Yes. And what I realized is that many of us, me included, live our life in a fear-based life. We're afraid to do things because we're afraid we're going to mess up. We're afraid we're going to do the wrong thing. We're afraid we're going to whatever it is.
Or we're not going to do it like somebody else who's done it better. Or so that whole trance. It's part of the same thing. And we had been talking about how I know in the United States anyway, and other places, we have competition from the time we're born.
Exactly. And what I realized, I just went through something in my own life. My car, which has been with me for 15 and a half years, died. And I've been for a month without a car now. And you would think that's the simplest thing to buy a car. Everyone on the street buys a car. Everyone has a car. Why can't I just go out and buy a car? And I realized that I was living my life out of fear when it came to buying a car. All my life, I had thought that cars were something that men had to do, not women. And I'm a woman. And not only that, but I was getting information from so many different people, and all the information was contradictory. This one said this car is good. That one said that car is bad. This one said this car is too expensive. That one says, no, it's too cheap. And whatever, it just kept coming in, and I just was paralyzed. I couldn't move.
Meanwhile, Ilana's over there just attracting more of that stuff into her life.
Exactly.
Causing more fear.
Exactly. And then, thanks to Susan, I watched this video from Anita Morjani, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm living this out of fear. I can't be over here. But then again, on the other hand, there's the other problem that I'm not equipped to go buy a car. I know nothing about cars. So how do I do this? So
when your neighbor is a mechanic,
which happens to be my neighbor's a mechanic.
You didn't tell me that before. You just were in the whole, I don't have a car, what am I going to do trance?
Yes.
And that was wow, a whole month now.
A whole month of walking all over Rehovot to all my different English lessons the ones that I still teach. And all over, to go food shopping, to go anything that I need to do, I need to now walk. I didn't have a car. But what I realized is that living fearlessly does not mean living stupidly.
Oh.
Okay.
Now, and many of us, we had been speaking of that paralyzed feeling of, when we can't move forward because we're in the fear, we're experiencing it, we're attracting more of it. And it's just that cycle, and it's just that trance of being in it, so that you can't take that step forward, or not able to.
Yes. So I had a really good tapping session with my tapping buddy from France, Helga Linné, on Friday, and she worked on me about this fear about buying a car, because she said you just go to a dealer and you buy a car.
Mm-hmm. Now that was my first thought, and
But one of the messages I was getting is don't go to a dealer because they're going to cheat you. Okay, now it's not just dealers are going to cheat me, because what I did is I went to cars. I looked on the back of the car to see if they had a sign there which said for sale and the phone number. And I called up, and there were two cars like that I called up. The first one I called up, the first time I called him, he said he was going to charge me $13,000 for the car.
This is classic.
Okay, and I said, well, that's a little bit too high for me. And he says, well, maybe I can go down to, $12,800. I can go down a little bit, not very much more. So then after a week, I decided, all right, I'm going to try calling him again. This is after I got over my fearfulness, and now I have to take matters in my hands and get my car. And I go to my mechanic, who happens to be my neighbor as well, which is a very handy thing to have.
Yes.
And I asked him to call up the guy. And strangely enough, suddenly the car went down by $3,000.
Amazing.
It was amazing, yes. Then there was another car that I called up, and I asked them, what's the mileage and what's the price? And they said, well, the mileage is 120,000 kilometers, in Israel we work in kilometers, and the price was $10,000,
Great
which is
deal.
what I was thinking. And I said,
Great
great,
deal.
this is a 2003 car, 120,000 kilometers, amazing. So I said, okay, I'll call you back soon. I have to speak to my mechanic. My mechanic calls him up, and suddenly it comes out, well, it's 120,000 kilometers, but on the second engine. The first engine already had 240,000 kilometers on it, and they just didn't get a chance to tell it to me.
I think that would be the first thing that you'd probably need to know. That it doesn't have the same engine that it was built with.
Yes, exactly.
So.
But the point in this whole story is that there is living fearlessly, smartly.
And then there's outright living from fear,
Right. Now, when you live fearlessly, smartly, what it means is we're a community. Everybody knows how to do certain things better than others. And if you don't know how to do something...
You're not alone. You're not alone.
You're not alone in not knowing how to do it. And you can reach out to that other person who does have an expertise in it. That's what he's there for.
And we had been speaking on that thought or that trance that comes around that says, if I ask for help, that's going to show that I'm weak.
Right.
And I think that's another thing to take a look at in your own life and see if that's something, because that's still living out of fear, because you're living with the fear of what will they think of me, which never works. No. I wouldn't recommend it.
Never works.
The mind loves to trick us all the time. So.
Now, if you look at a lot of the people who are very rich and successful, they don't do everything by themselves. They do what they know how to do well, and they pay someone who knows how to do the other things well to do it for them. So that
they have a posse who's willing to do it for them. They have an entourage.
The point is that you're not supposed to, and no one's requiring of you to know how to do everything.
That's right.
We're living in a community, and that's the point of the community, that we're all there to help each other.
And I want to meet the person that believes or tells someone else that they need to do it all themselves, like this belief we have,
right?
That it's all on you. That's if it's all on you. Well, tell me if that person has ever needed help. Of course they have. It's not even logical. Not that it has anything to do with logic, but it's not even logical.
But that brings me back to Anita Murjani, who had said something about how if schools were less competitive and more cooperative, they would be a lot more successful.
Exactly. Collaborate.
We require children to be good in a whole slew of subjects, yet we're not.
Michael Jordan said something to the effect of, I can't exactly quote him on this, but I remember hearing this, and it reminded me of her speaking, and it wasn't as quite as eloquent as the way she put it. Okay, but he said something to the effect of his goal each time was to beat himself, that last performance, or to beat that person. So, and I told Meredith this morning, I said, you can look at all of these videos. She wants to go to BeautyCon and she wants to do. You can look at that stuff. Don't ever think you are, I didn't tell her this, but I don't want her to have any, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Right. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to compare yourself to someone else, compare yourself to you, the last time you did something that you're trying to further in. Exactly. Because you're getting help regardless.
The point is that you're supposed to be the best you that you can be.
That's right.
At every point in time. And as you learn different things, you become a better you.
And it's a simple concept, but how many of us go out there and, what does that even mean? Who am I? We all, at some point in our lives, who am I? I've got to find myself. No, you do not have to find yourself. You are. I am, right. And that comes with just the being part of it. Just, I am,
Exactly. But coming back to the idea of being able to go to an expert for the things that they're expertise in, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to learn it from scratch. Because
Yes.
if everyone had to learn everything from scratch, we would be back in the prehistoric ages.
Oh. You're going to waste a lot of time that way too, doing something that can't be done.
So our message is, if you have a problem and you don't know how to get yourself out of it, don't look at yourself as a failure. Don't look at yourself as weak, as someone who,
And also very important to not, the fear-based reactions of staying in the problem or having a solution that you've been trying to utilize that's not working. That's not going to happen either. If you've tried to solve a problem over and over again using the same way, you're just going to get the same stuff.
Exactly.
You're just going to stay in the problem and in that
Exactly.
fear.
And we as practitioners from all the different modalities, not just from Faster EFT, although I prefer obviously Faster EFT, are trained to help people get out of their problems. And everybody has problems. It's not like, anyone who tells you they have no problems, don't believe them. My aunt once told me, if a guy tells you he doesn't snore, don't marry him because he's a liar.
Oh, funny.
Okay.
Somebody told me that recently, somebody that I've known for a long, long time said to me, I'm explaining Faster EFT, and they said, I don't have any problems. And I remember when I was so naive to believe that. But what I really meant was I don't have anything so pressing that is causing me so much harm. And even then I probably did, but I wouldn't look at it. I wouldn't look at it.
Exactly.
So that's what they're really saying is not something that I want to handle right now, or not something that I don't.
Or that I'm ready to handle right now.
Right. Maybe they enjoy the problem. A lot of us do.
But if you're at the point where you're not enjoying your problem and you don't know what to do and you feel
It's time
weak,
for change.
it's time for change, and it's time to ask for help from people who know how to help you make it change.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, you'll be able to do it on your own. The Faster EFT is a system which you're supposed to do on your own, as a, sort of like brushing your teeth and washing your hair, tapping away your, doing mental hygiene.
And when you have an issue that you're working through with either one of us or somebody else, when you're having an issue, we always, I say always, but usually we do teach you how to tap and how to do that so that you can work through it and on your own.
We also teach you the ideology behind it so that you understand what you're doing, because when you understand what you're doing, you're going to do it much more effectively.
Exactly. And it comes back to, for me, it was a huge difference in, okay, I believe this belief system or this thinking system. Mm-hmm. I believe in this, but am I living it?
Right.
Was I living it? I couldn't say that for a very long time. And when you become to live it, and you're doing it and you're in that, your whole world does change.
And what Faster EFT really does, I mean, for me at least it did that, it helped me learn how to live fearlessly.
And free.
How to face my issues, face my biggest fears, and work through them so that I don't have to, they don't bind me anymore. They don't, chain me with chains that I can't move and they paralyze me. Right.
Don't stand for uncomfortable silence, living in something that you, when you look back on your life, do you want to say that I stayed in something completely unhappy with a certain problem, whether it's buying a car or whether it's staying with a partner or whatever it is, we all have resources and proofs as to why we have our problems. That's what we work through to resolve them, to make peace with them, and to create a better future.
Right. Exactly. So till next time, happy tapping.
Peace out.